Hi, good evening. I'm Doug Davis, and I'm your student science teacher this year for seventh grade. You can see my contact information there on the screen. And just so you know, a little heads up, every email in the school district for every teacher is pretty much the same. It's the teacher's first name, a period, and then a last name, and then at mercerroundschools.org. The phone number on there that rings directly to my classroom, although I would have to admit I'm not very good about answering it during the school day for obvious reasons with the kids in the class. My prep period is second period, which is probably the best time to call. And my prep period is between 9:20 and 10:10 a.m. on Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday. And on Wednesday, it's 9:10 to 9:50. All right. Here's a little bit of background about myself. I was born and raised in Utah, so I went to Utah State University and graduated with a bachelor's degree there in biology and secondary ed. I was one class away from an environmental science degree when I changed my major. And about 2 weeks later, I got a letter from my parents saying that I was cut off. I moved out to Seattle in 1994 and did a master's of education through City University. And I've been an Islander for 27 years. My entire career has been here at Islander Middle School. A couple of things about me. I love these quotes. The more you know, the less you know, you know. I don't know who actually said that. I could probably Google it and maybe narrow it down. And then next one is from a student of mine in the past. And this was in the school paper, and what she had said as her advice to incoming freshmen that the hardest part of any project is getting started, which I thought that was great. And then the last one, of course, anyone who has never made a mistake has never tried anything new. That'll be critical for this year. I grew up in Moab in southern Utah, and this is the Colorado River looking to the east with the LaSalle Mountains in the background, and Fisher Valley with Fisher Towers as well. Very beautiful picture, I think. Very different than Seattle, but beautiful in its own way. More Moab pictures, Delicate Arch. Moab is very famous for its national parks, Arches National Park, Canyons National Park, and several state parks around there. And of course, Zion and Bryce a couple hours away. The other picture is the Moab Valley looking from the West Rim. Anyway, both of these pictures were taken by my sophomore English teacher and yearbook teacher, which was Mr. Tom Till, and he took a leave of absence after my sophomore year to pursue his interest in photography. And he turned out to be an incredibly talented professional photographer. These are my two boys, Dylan and Ryder. Dylan's the one holding the puppy. We got a puppy this summer. That's Bodie. And we took that picture as a reference so we could see like how big Bodie had gotten. And then Ryder with his braces off, which is kind of like why the goofy smile, like smile for your mom so I can send her a picture. And he wouldn't smile, so I had to make him laugh. More pictures of my family. At the top left is Dylan skydiving. He went skydiving with his mom for her 50th birthday about a month ago, I guess. Bottom left, we had a staycation this summer, so we decided we'd all go golfing. It wasn't a pretty sight. We did some 3-par out at the Willows in Redmond. I think we lost more golf balls than we started with, but we found several along the way so we could keep playing. Our goal was just to play until we ran out and not worry about it, but we had a lot of fun. And then a picture in the bottom right-hand corner of me racing my bike at Pacific Raceways in Kent. We also love to ski as a family. This is a picture with some family friends up at Whistler Blackcomb. This is pre-COVID. We haven't been up there since. I love to ride and race my bike. The picture inside, the goofy looking one, is me on an indoor platform. It's similar to Peloton. It's called Zwift, where I get to ride with people from all over the world. The picture to the right is a trip I took to Italy for my 50th birthday a few years back, where I went with 10 of my best friends, and we rode some classic mountain climbs, the Tour of Italy and the Tour de France. And this is the Stelvio. It has 47 switchbacks in it, and that's just up near the top. All right, course overview. So seventh grade, like this video, I hope is a little fast-paced in the hands-on class. So we will do a lot of work in here. We will start mostly in chemistry and progress into biology as the year goes on. Next up, closer look at the units. Nature of science is where we are now, which in and of itself, I think is pretty self-explanatory, like how and why do we do science? And then we'll move into matter, but the basic properties of matter, solids, liquids, gases, different classes of matter, mixture solutions, elements and compounds, and so on. And then more into some specific chemistry about a little bit about compounds and reactions and balancing equations and so on. Understanding the periodic table, not memorizing the periodic table. Classification will start us off in biology with kingdom, phylum, class, order, family, genus, species. And then we will move into cells, where we will look at cell theory, the parts of the cell, and we'll spend a lot of time on microscopes. So we were super fortunate, to get a grant last year to buy more microscopes. So we should never have any more than 2 kids using a microscope in the classroom, which will be pretty amazing. And then we will get to cell processes, like why do cells do what they do and how do they do it? And then it can't be a school year anymore without talking about bacteria and viruses. And so last year, the viruses unit during hybrid school was probably one of the most interesting for most kids because of the current environment in which we are living. And we'll do some cool labs and some fun activities along with that as well. And then we will move into genetics. We will start with basic Mendelian genetics with Punnett squares. You may remember some of the classic terminology from high school or college, like using the Punnett squares for purebred, hybrid, or homozygous and heterozygous. And then we will advance into more specific genetic aspects using DNA for things like protein synthesis and human genome project and so on. Lastly, we will do a unit on evolution, and that will finish us up for the school year. All right, my philosophy, these are things that I believe as a teacher, these are critical. They're paramount to my success and your student success in the classroom as well. So building authentic relationships with my students, I strive really hard to get to know them. The first 2 weeks of the school year for me, I spend literally every day some activity that I can do that helps me memorize their names. And now that we're on day 2 of the 3rd week, I feel like I have all their names down already. I believe in treating my students with respect and compassion. I believe in hard work, that the best learning is done by doing. And as far as homework goes in this class, it won't be a common occurrence, but when it is assigned, I expect it to be done because it is meant to enhance the learning, and it's never done for busy work. Hopefully that didn't show up. I just had notification from HBO. So grading for equity. So as you can see on here, that it uses 4 main mindsets, and we'll go into these a little bit more on the next slide, but it's an approach to learning, combining standards with universal design for learning. And our standards come from the next generation science standards. And we use those to create our proficiency scales to see the progression of learning that the students have. Here are the 4 basic mindsets. And so when we say behavior is ungraded, it's specific to things like homework completion and products, participation and effort. There's no extra credit. It's not saying that there's no accountability for appropriate classroom behavior. Number 2, all coursework will be attached to a standard. So if we're doing it for a reason, and it will tie into an accompanying proficiency scale. Students have a flexible means for accessing their learning. So firm goals and flexible means. So what this means is kids can show me their learning in different ways, in ways that make the most sense to them, whether it's a podcast, a video, a written paper, a 3-dimensional project. So there's lots of different ways as long as we can make it work. Students have flexible means for showing evidence. And I just really described that, which was step number 4, but you can go ahead and take a moment to just read that as well. Okay, next page. All right, so Schoology versus Skyward. A couple things to really point out on here. The way I look at Schoology, I kind of look at Schoology as like a glorified calendar planner to help the kids manage the work that they need to do, and to help track some of their assignments. Skyward is really to access online grades. And so if something shows as missing in Schoology, it doesn't necessarily mean it's missing in Skyward, because not everything will be submitted through Schoology. So it can be a little bit confusing. The short version, as you can see on there, Skyward is for grades and Schoology is for everything else. And there's also flexibility on my behalf for late work and missing work. So Skyward online grading system. This year, things are quite a bit different. So it says, note that the grades in Skyward are going to look different this year. About 80% of our school this year is using standards-based grading. There will be formative assignments in there that can be entered that might not count. There's summative assessments that will show a score of 1 to 4 on them with the proficiency scale to show where our students are in the progression of their learning. One thing I really want to point out, and I've been trying really hard to convince the students of this, and they keep telling me to tell you guys that a 4 is not an A and a 3 is not a B, and so on. And it's almost impossible, I think, for a lot of us to ignore the percentages that we see in Skyward, because that's our entire academic history from school has all come down to the percentage. So don't look at a 3 and think that a 3 out of 4 is a 75%. A 3 out of 3 means that the standard has been met. A 4 out of 4 means the student has gone above and beyond the standard. And a 2 out of 4 is not a 50% either. It's just saying that those are the basics of the standard without fully meeting the standard. So please ignore the percentages you see this year, and we will work with the 3s and the 4s and 2s and maybe occasionally some 1s as well. So Skyward for this is super challenging because there's no way to hide the percentages, but keep in mind, we're not using the percentages. It's not an average grade. If you have any questions, please email them to me and I will put together some frequently asked questions for you guys and send this out through a distribution list on Gmail. And you can also phone me at any time. I should have put the number there at the end, but here it is again, 206-275-5928. Thank you for watching, and I hope you guys have a great school year, and I'm looking forward to working with your students. Take care. Bye.